Hey everyone, SilverContrail here. Today I wanted to give some quick thoughts on one of the new themes that was just unveiled in the OCG, and it's a theme that we'll be receiving at the end of April in Ancient Guardians, which has three different themes. We've seen this kind of pack 1,000 times before at this point. They did just get a new name, so it's really important that we remember that they are now Ursarctic cards, not the Bearcti. I forget. I don't even think I figured out how to pronounce that. So I'm glad that the name changes out before I'm trying to make a video on them. I have been thinking about this theme quite a bit. I think it's really cool. The art is really cool. There's sort of a like Gurren Lagann vibe to it. And like a big synchro theme like this sounds like a lot of fun to play. The problem, as we'll discover, is that I don't really think this theme is all that good, and it's missing something. It's missing either another mechanic or another card, and I don't think we're going to be able to find that card because of all the restrictions within the theme. So let's talk about some of the cards that we've got. There's a couple places that posted them. We'll check out first the WIGO organization article. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the effects of these cards because you've probably already watched a video on them or at least read them. I will leave a link in the description to this post so that you can check them out at your own time. But basically, there are 6 main deck monsters and 3 extra deck monsters that are all synchros, of course. The deck is synchro based. Half of the main deck monsters are tuners, half of them are not, and there is a level 1 tuner in this deck, which of course indicates that there's a little bit of something interesting going on here. In fact, it is the fabled dark synchro summoning method where we are subtracting levels to get to the levels of the synchro monsters that we're looking for. So in this case, we are subtracting the level 7 monsters from the level 8 tuner monsters. Now, basically, the main deck monsters come in 3 different flavors of bears. We have the polar bear, the black bear, and the grizzly bear. To start with, the grizzly has the effect of when it's summoned, it can summon another bear or Ursarctic monster from your hand. The black bear has the effect where it allows you to recycle a Ursarctic monster from the graveyard, and the polar bear has the effect where it can search an Ursarctic monster from your deck when it's summoned. They all have the same first effect. In fact, all 6 of the main deck monsters have the same first effect, where during the main phase, as a quick effect, you contribute one other level 7 or higher monster in your hand, special summon this card from your hand, and then you cannot summon monsters for the rest of the turn except monsters that have a level. So basically, if you summon one of these guys, you are locked out of Link summoning or Xyz summoning. That's the other one, right? They have ranks, not levels, for the rest of that turn. So it's a little restrictive, obviously. You're probably not playing Hulk with this deck anyways, but that's a lot of cards that you just don't have access to. But the extra deck monsters here really do a good job of making up for it, and the fact that you can use them you can summon these monsters in your opponent's turn, like you can summon them, you can summon them during your opponent's turn when they go first. So you can be going second and still be summoning cards and getting searches off and getting set up. And then you can even link someone before you summon another one of these guys, if somehow you got 2 of them on the board, and you'd be good to go. Right, and then you can activate their effects, lock yourself out of the link summons after you've done your one link summon that you wanted to do. Kind of cool. But that is kind of the issue here, which is that tributing monsters from your hand to summon these guys is going to be costly. So they do have effects when they're summoned, right? We know that the level 7s find you more of these Ursarctic cards, either from your deck or your graveyard, or they summon them from your hand. And then these guys, the level 8s, these ones are tuners, and they're also beast warriors. They do a few different things. The grizzly, level 8, this guy banishes a monster from your opponent's graveyard when he's summoned. And these, to be clear, right, the level 8s require you to have another Ursarctic monster on the field in order to net their effect. So just keep that in mind. I think it is monster. It's not card. So you'll need to have another one on the field at least to do this. 90% of the time, that should be the case. And then it's the same thing here with the black bear. His mech form, or his advanced mech form, when he's summoned, you can flip a monster on your opponent's side of the field face down. This is this is basically a quick play Book of Moon when combined with the Grizzly Bear level 7. You can activate that on your opponent's turn, summon it, and then you summon this next to it, and then you would just flip a monster face down. That's pretty disruptive. I mean, like I said, that's a Book of Moon hand trap. Not bad, honestly. And then we've got the Polar Bear. And his effect allows you to destroy a spell or trap card your opponent controls. So not quite as useful, just because by the time you're destroying a spell or trap card, it's probably already used its effect. But if they have like an ignition effect that they activated, it doesn't sound too bad. I kind of like that. So these are all pretty solid. The problem, of course, being that you're going to run out of cards really quickly. But let's talk about the core play here. So the first step with this theme is to summon Polari. So you really want to summon Ursarctic Polari as quickly as possible. You need this card. Unless you're doing some weird shenanigans, you basically need to make this card to make your other two synchros, and that's really the whole reason you're playing this deck. In order to summon this, you'll need to have one of the level 8s on the board and one of the level 7s, generally. There's some room for finagling things a little bit here. For example, this Polari specifically requires one tuner and a non-tuner. It doesn't require Ursarctic monsters. That means you could theoretically use level 7 monsters that aren't Ursarctics as materials. I don't know how likely you are to do that, but it's something to keep in mind. So when the synchro here is summoned, you can then activate your field spell, Ursarctic Big Dipper, directly from the deck. So it just gets straight up activated. And then it has a second effect where you contribute one level 7 or higher monster. You can either add it to your hand or special summon one Ursarctic monster from the graveyard. So basically, if you've got another level 7 on the field, you can trade that out for Ursarctic monster and either put that card on the field or add it to your hand, which I can't imagine a whole lot of situations where you want to put it back in your hand, but in theory you could. So, of course, the next step is we've got to talk about the field spell, because this is really important, and it's the reason why this second effect isn't complete garbage. So the field spell, in particular, has this first effect, where once per turn, if you would tribute a monster to activate a Ursarctic monster's effect, you can banish one level 7 or higher Ursarctic monster from your graveyard instead. So, again, once per turn, but if you have this field spell out, that tribute effect that summons another Ursarctic monster from the graveyard that's attached to that level 1 synchro, Polari, all of a sudden, now you're just banishing one monster from your graveyard, well, one Ursarctic monster, to summon an Ursarctic monster from the graveyard. That's good, because you've got to get your level 8 tuner back in order to make those synchros. So great, just banish one of your 7s, bring back one of your 8s. Cool. It's free. Piece of cake, no problem. And then it's got some other interesting effects that, if you want to, you can check them out. And I think they're pretty decent. Like, they're kind of solid. Like, I kind of like these two effects. And then there's 2 other support cards as well. But essentially, that's how this play works. So you'll start with your level 7. So it doesn't particularly matter which one you have. For obvious reasons, having the Grizzly makes things a little easier on you, because the Grizzly can just summon another Ursarctic monster from your hand, so you don't have to activate it. But like in theory, right, you can start with McPola. I don't know if that's going to get a name change or not. But so you start with a Polar Bear, you activate its effect, tribute another level 7 or higher monster in your hand, summon it from the hand, and then you activate its effect to search an Ursarctic monster from your deck. At this point, if you don't have a level 8, you want to grab a level 8. And then you want to use that card's effect, tributing another level 7 or higher monster in your hand to summon the level 8. At that point, you'll have the level 8 and the level 7 on the board, and you can synchro summon for your Polari, your level 1 synchro, by sending those monsters to the graveyard. Or I should say, you're not going to synchro summon, you're going to special summon it, because this is not considered to be a synchro summon. At that point, you'll add the field spell, activate the field spell, and then use Polari's second effect to banish one of your level 7 monsters. Don't banish level 8 because that's the one you want to bring back. Bring back whichever level 8 you got rid of, or that you used in order to summon Polari, and then you can make either of the level 7 synchros. I don't know how to say this one. Septentrion, maybe? I think? He's really cool. He sort of has like an Omni negation for like monsters summoned from the extra deck that have no levels, which is pretty sweet. And Grand Chariot, who has like an interesting destruction effect and a negation effect that stops targeting. So that combo itself is not too bad. The problem is the initial investment to get things going, and this guy, oh man, if this guy gets negated or stopped or countered in some way, you are done for the turn. I mean, it's over. You know, theoretically you can make another one, but it is punishing if you lose this card. And that's kind of where I wanted to bring this discussion, because there is a big weak point and a vulnerability with this theme. And you can see it plain as day when you think about the fact that you just gave up potentially as many as 4 cards in your hand, probably more likely 3 cards in your hand, and a 5-card starting hand. That's kind of rough. This deck to me feels like one that actually does want to play second, because you can summon these guys from your hand when you're going first, or sorry, when your opponent's going first and they're playing in their main phase. You just summon these guys, you pick up some of their effect, you disrupt your opponent. Then on your turn, you've got a few more cards to work with, right? You've done your searches, you've got more chances to activate cards, you're dodging some of those, you can only use this card's effect name once per turn type things. You have the option to go into some synchros. That's all good. But if you're playing second, if you're playing first, you can imagine yourself wasting quite a few cards to make this thing. And if it gets hit by a gamma, I don't know. Like, that's rough. If you open with the field spell, this is a deck that almost just wants to play like one copy of its field spell, because you basically never want to draw it. It's sort of like worst case scenario if you happen to draw into it. Maybe you play 2 copies. I almost feel like you don't play 3. I definitely don't think you play Terraforming, because you don't want to search it. But yeah, it's this deck worries me. These cards are good. The synchros are good. The trap is okay. The quick play spell isn't great. I think, it's interesting. Unfortunately, that monster can't attack. It does have its effect though, so you can summon your level 8s and trigger their like DD Crow effect, the Book of Moon effect, their like MST effect that's attached to them, and disrupt your opponent. Plus you're getting a free card back, and it doesn't matter if the monster's banished or in your graveyard. You can summon it from either place. All those things are nice. There's just no way to get a lot of card advantage in this theme, and that's a big problem. You do need card advantage in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, and this deck just basically doesn't generate any. Except that the level 7s, either 2 of the level 7s, the Black Bear and the Polar Bear, get you more cards, but only one at a time. And to do that, a lot of the time, you have to expend multiple cards. It's kind of scary. So that is my first impression for this theme. Ursarctic, the art of these things is so cool. Like, this is such a cool looking theme. I'll be disappointed if it doesn't really go anywhere. I think there's a couple of things that could fix it, but outside of Konami giving us new cards, I think what we need to find is a really good level 7 or higher monster that, and maybe just a level 7 monster in particular that we can summon or add to the hand, or just have a lot of copies of, like a Thunder Dragon. A thunder dragon that's level 7 would be really good, because it would just be like free resources that you could use, or like a malicious that's level 7. Unfortunately, a lot of these cards are like, not that level. I've been trying to think in my mind like what you can do. Again, the field spell does counter some of these issues, but not a whole lot. Like, unfortunately, it's only once per turn that you can not hurt yourself by trying to summon too many of these guys. Most of the time, you're really only going to want to use it the turn that you summon Polari, and outside of that, you don't necessarily want to see it because you're going to use it for Polari anyways. So it's a little conflicting. The trap is okay, but yeah, I think that's what we need to find is some kind of like level 7 that can just act as fodder forever. So anyways, again, that's my initial first impressions. I can't wait to see these cards show up in simulators because I'll be interested to play around with them. Let me know what you guys think of this new theme, and until next time then.